Achieved with CryEngine.
What churls would do such devilry?
Take as many men as you need and ride there. Find those knaves and bring me their head.
Hi, I am the creative director of the game you just saw. I hope you liked it. And I'm here to tell you more about the game, about the people behind it, and most importantly, about the reason why we are here on Kickstarter. Some time ago I realized that at the big publisher I used to work, there is very little chance that I will be ever able to make a game that I always wanted to make. So I decided to quit my well-paid job and started a new company called Warhorse to develop an open-world, medieval, realistic RPG you just saw called Kingdom Come Deliverance. You can think of it as a Braveheart game. Majestic castles, armored knights, large-scale battles, political intrigues, all set in a large medieval open world. We want to make the experience as authentic as possible. Real-world locations, real castles, period-accurate costumes and armor, combat and fencing design with the best swordsmen around, and story based on real historic events. All this on a foundation of solid game mechanics of a true hardcore RPG. Like non-linear quests with multiple solutions, branching dialogues with points of no return, several roles to play, lots of different stats, skills and perks, and ultimate character customization options. We have 4 layers of clothes and 16 equipable slots. There is of course crafting like blacksmithing, alchemy and even cooking, and details like the need to sleep and eat to stay healthy. Even food goes bad if it's in your inventory for too long. Deliverance is one large open world. You can grab your sword, hop on your horse and just ride through the country or find people in peril to help them, solve complicated quests, hunt wild animals or take part in large battles. One of the things we are most proud of is our combat system. It's not easy to make a good first-person combat and we believe we succeeded in that. You can move freely like in any other first-person game, but at the same time you can attack various parts of opponent's body with several different attacks. On top of that, you can also perform special moves and combos, and most importantly, the whole thing is based on inverse kinematics, so every sword blow results in proper physical correct reaction. So, to sum it all up, we are trying to mix the freedom and game mechanics of Skyrim, storytelling of The Witcher, setting of Mountain Blade, and the tough combat of Dark Souls into one single package for people who like those games, TV series like Game of Thrones or Vikings, or movies like Braveheart. Our team is based in Prague, in the heart of Europe, where every town and village is overshadowed by an old castle, so we have a lot of places to draw inspiration from. Most of our team members previously worked on other big open world games like Mafia, Operation Flashpoint and Arma series. Our lead programmer worked on Forza Horizon, our lead artist came from Crytek where he worked on Crysis 3. We are a new team, but we have worked with each other in the past and most of us have 10+ years experience in the industry. So I believe that we are well qualified to develop another open world game. Everything you saw so far was developed by a team of just 25 people. We are now 35 members and plan to double that number. So now you probably ask yourself a question why we are here on Kickstarter. This is a big expensive game that will surely cost a lot of money. Doesn't any big publisher want it? The answer may surprise you. Warhorse is a relatively small studio. So far we have been funded by a private investor and the cost of what you just saw is about $1.5 million. Things look promising at first. The producers we've met like the game and the team, but when we've got to the sales and marketing people, problems came up. At the time of the pitching, everybody thought that the next-gen consoles are doomed and nothing other than free-to-play MMOs for iPad will sell. So when we turned up with a pretty unique new concept for consoles, it was flagged as very risky. On top of that, we got a lot of questions like, is it going to be fun without magic and dragons? And the negotiations were taking forever. So finally, nearly a year after we began pitching Deliverance to publishers, we came to a crossroads. Either we fold the whole thing and do a free-to-play MMO for iPad, or we find some other way to fund the game. But Deliverance is a big and expensive game and we can hardly hope to raise the whole budget on Kickstarter alone. So we made a deal with our investor, who has luckily been very patient with us so far, that since the publishers are skeptical, we would approach you, the gamers, directly, and if we manage to raise a relatively reasonable sum of $500,000, it will prove to him that the game has potential and he will continue to finance us. If we fail, it means that the publishers were right and there is no demand for the game. So it's not going to happen. Anything over that amount will allow us to create additional content and make it better. Our game consists of 3 acts which we want to publish separately. The first one has a 9 square kilometer map and 30 hours of gameplay. The second act will be released about 8 months after the first one, with expanded map and similar length. Between each act we plan to add new features based on feedback from you, the supporters of our project. Our backers will also get early access to the game. In about 6 months we will release a smaller level where our backers can test core mechanics, and as development progresses we will add new features like combat, horse riding and small quests. When everything is ready, our backers will have early access to the beta before release. So if you liked what you saw and the idea of large medieval open world RPG, please support us. We believe there are many people who would like to play the game, but it's simply not possible with traditional publishers, so we cannot do it without your help. You will find more information about the game under the video and we'll provide even more in the future updates. Thank you for watching and thanks for your support. Every RPG has hundreds of characters in it, but the difference between RPG and any other video game is that characters can dress and undress in RPG. And it's a big problem for developers how to solve it. So let's have a look how we solved it. We will definitely need hundreds, maybe thousands of characters in the game. So we needed to develop our own tools to make their development as easy as possible. We built our tool on top of CryEngine. We would like to share it with the modding community later. And I would say it's the ultimate character customization tool ever developed. Let's start with character bodies. We can change almost every aspect of their appearance. We can select their size, body mass, skin, color, hair, facial hair, of course face, and also paleness or tone of their skin. Of course we can display different injuries on the bodies as well. So there's really no limit of the appearance of any character in the game. The system we are most proud of is our clothing system. We have 16 equipable slots on every single character in the game, and what is most important and most special about it is that as in a real world you can layer clothing in layers on each character. So for example, if you are an armored knight, you can have a gambeson on your torso, then chainmail over the gambeson, then plate armor over the chainmail, and on top of that you can have some expensive coat to show your social status to people. Every layer has some different purpose. Every armor is good against different types of weapons. So if you used only chainmail, you will be well protected against swords, but not as good against arrows, for example. Plate mail is very good against most of the weapons, but not hammers and axes and such weapons. Thanks to that system, we can create almost unlimited amount of characters. You can combine them as you wish. Every character can combine them. You can steal from other clothes from dead bodies as well, of course. On top of that, every player, every slot can have different color and different size, as you can see the fat knight here. And the clothing can get dirty or damaged, covered in blood during the game, so you will need to wash your clothes when you are too dirty, for example. No two characters in the game will look alike. We can create 1,000-man army and every soldier will be different. Most importantly, the work will be much easier for us. We don't need as many artists because since every character is built from little pieces, we just need to create those pieces and then combine them together, which is much easier to develop a lot of characters to the game. While the bodies are created by combining small parts, we create each character's head individually. We are using it for the latest 3D scanner for that, and then our artist will hand polish every head. Michal, our programmer responsible for the horse features, is going to tell you something more about it.
Okay, so with our horses we wanted to strike a balance between a completely independent animal and a mindless drone. So we want you to have as much control as possible over the movement of the horse, but then at some points when you will, for example, do something that will pose a danger to the horse, we want the horse to take control and move out of the danger or just not do something. So at that moment we will, for example, try to not jump from a cliff if it is just too high. It will run around trees by itself. It will automatically jump over smaller obstacles. So if you own a horse, it also has its own inventory system. So if you have a lot of stuff, it will carry it around for you. You can also whistle and the horse will come to you. So we can try that now. And I will call our horse with the whistle and it will come to me. Now I will mount it. So you can see the camera is animated and now you can drive around. So it has a lot of animations which we made for now. They're custom animations and they will be made through motion capture later, but these are just placeholders, but still we are developing our technology on them. Our aim is to have a believable horse, so through visuals and through animations. Okay, so we have 3 sets of animations for 3 different speeds. One is for walking, one is for trotting, which is the middle speed, and one is gallop. We have also so-called idle to move animations, so there will be different animations played if you start galloping right away or if you start walking. So for example, walking looks like this and galloping looks like this. So I mentioned that we have an automatic jump, so if you run to a fence, it will jump in automatically. So these are the animation subsystems, and also for the visuals you can also equip your horse and you can change the bridle, for example, or you can change the trappings. This time we are going to talk about something very interesting, our first-person melee combat. Victor, our lead combat designer, will tell you some in-depth information how it works in a few moments, but let me first introduce you how we did a research for the fencing and battles and all that stuff. So first thing we needed to find out when we started was how fencing and battles and everything actually works. So of course we Googled, we find a lot of online reference and read some books, but then we went to on location. We talked with a lot of real fencers and living history reenactors, and most importantly we visited a lot of real world battles reenactments, where we met a lot of interesting people who are really trying to do the most hardcore way of fencing. When we had our contacts, we started to do some rehearsals with the best fencers we've met. What we did is we
asked them to show us the most common techniques and ways how to fence. We put a lot of cameras around them, put action camera on the head of one of them. Our aim was to find out how it looks from first person when you actually fight with someone. We were a little bit scared that the first person combat will not work in the game, that the player will not see what this character is doing, and it will be very unintuitive. But what we find out actually was that it could work, that the first person view is quite interesting, that when the camera is implemented right, you can see pretty well what your character's hands are doing, and that it's very immersive. So right now we just need to polish the system, add a lot of data into it, a lot of moves and animations, and we will have something that I really believe is something very special. So that was our research, and now let's have a look how it's implemented in the game.
Hi, I am Victor, and I'm going to tell you how you fight in Kingdom Come Deliverance. Please be aware that what you are going to see is heavily work in progress. Animations are not final, and not all systems are already implemented. We still have a long way to go, and I wanted to thank you that you are going with us. So, the basics. You have 3 different attacks. You can stab, you can slash, and there is a special action which can be a strike, a kick, or pummel strike with your sword. You have 6 zones on enemy body you can target. It means you have 18 different basic attacks. These we can call initial attacks, and once you do them, the fight is more about timing and about movement. The timing is especially useful in defense. We have a dedicated defense button. You can hold it down, and then your character will automatically block every attack whenever it comes from. But if you wait with that and actually press the defense into the enemy attack, you will parry the enemy sword to the side, and you have a chance for counter-attack. And that's not all. You can actually trick your enemy. You can pretend the attack from one side and actually attack from the other. You can use your surrounding, you can maneuver enemy into not very good position. Very important part of the combat system is the stamina. In Kingdom Come Deliverance you will usually meet armored opponents. You will be armored too, and to harm the guy in full plate is not an easy task. So you actually fight with his stamina. Once it gets low, you can overcome his defense and hurt him or kill him with some special attacks. If you are skilled enough, you can find the weak point and kill him faster. Realism is priority number 1 for us. So far you have seen just one weapon, the longsword. In the final game you will have a whole arsenal of medieval weapons at your disposal. Every weapon is good against different type of armors. You can have a sword and shield, you can have an axe or a hammer for more armored opponents. You can even use your bow or crossbow and kill the enemy from distance. Let me introduce some of my coworkers at this point. This is Peter, our lead animator, and this is Peter, our main combat programmers. We also have 2 other Peters, but they are not involved in combat in any way, so I'll show them later. Peter will now tell you something about the technical background of the combat system.
We want to create great, realistic combat system. We want to fight everywhere in our game, and our game has really hilly terrain. We want to have a lot of weapons with different sizes. We had to develop smart system which is based on various solvers, controllers, mechanics, modifiers. Most challenging was the solver for weapon movement. especially after the hit into the opponent's body. We try to solve this situation by sliding by. Another problem comes with the hit actions. We have three kinds of hit actions. We have one for attacking sword. There is some movement back. There is another one is on opponent's body. Please, Peter, make a hit action. Thank you. And the last one is with the blocking a weapon. When you hit the block, there must be some movement to see the hit into the weapon. All these mechanisms are based on physical simulation, inverse kinematic, and various procedural solvers. All these together give us a lot of variations and possibility to have as much realistic combat as it is possible.
We want the combat to be something special. You will not kill dozens and dozens enemies. Every fight is unique and more like a duel than some hack-and-slash action game. You can sometimes meet more than one enemy, and then it will be very complicated. You will have some special skills for fighting against more enemies, but usually it's much better to bring some allies and fight as a group. You are asking us a lot about castle sieges and large-scale battles. Sorry, we don't want to reveal much at this point, but regarding large battles, we try to recreate some of famous historical battles of the era, where the player just as one chess piece on the large chessboard. You will use our combat system and fight for your life and try to survive. There will be, at the moment, there is no strategy mode planned, there is no tactical leading, you will not lead the army, you will just fight your fight on the battlefield. However, multiple smaller battles will be included in the game, as well as castle sieges. These actually happen at the fixed points in the story, and you may even have some involvement in overall strategy, decisions, or things like that. We will be still playing an RPG game. So, for example, it may look like there's a castle that needs to be taken, I have some guys and trebuchets here, so what I can do? I may wait for the night and infiltrate the castle if I am good at stealth. I may just open the gates, or I may poison the water source, or anything like that. Or I can just ignore this possibility and lead a full-scale charge with archers and artillery support. Ladders, soldiers scaling the walls, fight on the walls. At some point you will be also able to defend the castle, you can just stand on the top of the walls, shoot arrows, splash boiling oil, or just fight off the attackers. If you feel that the system is too complicated or you are not very good at action games, don't worry. Deliverance is still an RPG game. It's not only you who is fighting, but also your character. And also your character has skills and perks and abilities. So when the enemy is too strong for you, you can just slow down a little bit and level up. You may find some famous trainer and train at him. You can read a book about fencing. You can just level up by fulfilling some other quests. And then your character is stronger. That doesn't only mean that you strike stronger. The actually whole combat system is working on the RPG base. So, for example, if your character's sword skill is higher than your opponent's, you are faster than him. And it's way easier for you to block his attacks, to parry his attacks, to counter-attack, and all this. Or alternatively, you can just pull out your bow or crossbow and shoot the enemy. Or you can bribe him, or you can call someone for help, or anything you can come up with.
Today we are going to talk about our NPC systems and AI. And since it's something I don't understand at all, I will let others tell you about it. So first, Victor will talk about our NPCs, and then the guys from Charles University Computer Science Department will tell you something about AI. And by the way, the university was founded 50 years before the events in our game by the Emperor Charles IV, who is the father of the King Wenzel, which is one of the lead characters in our game.
Hi. What we want to achieve here is to create a world that is living. Every NPC has some function in this world. Every NPC has some job, some hobbies, some interests. Every NPC has something we call day cycle. It means they sleep in the night, well, most of them. They wake up in the morning, eat breakfast, and then go to the work. What they actually do depends on many things, like the weather. If it's raining and he works outside, he may stay at home for now or go to the work later. Every NPC has some hobbies and interests. For example, it's evening and this guy goes to the pub. He usually goes to the pub because he loves it. Today he went to the pub and it was full. So the system looks at his other interests and tell him, okay, the pub is full, so say some bad words and go for a walk or go fishing or I don't know, or go home and stay there or go sleep earlier than usually. These interests and hobbies can even change during the gameplay. And all this system as a whole reacts to the player's action, which is a very important part because the player is some variable in the system. Every NPC does some stuff that is prescripted to some extent, and they react to situations. And the player is some wild card in the middle of this that can do almost anything. He can start to kill people. He can, well, actually only if he pulls out his sword and go through the street with a sword in the hand, people will react on it because it seems dangerous and they will run away or call the guards and they will arrest him. The next important part is the quest system, which is actually injected into these NPCs worlds. In Deliverance, there are no special dedicated so-called quest NPCs. It means that if you, for example, have some quest to bring to the blacksmith some leather, the blacksmith is not standing on the street waiting for the letter with the question marks over his head. He will actually do his job. If it's the night, he will go sleep. And if you want to deliver the letter, you need to wait for the morning or wake him up. Of course, you won't be very happy because he was woken up in the middle of the night, and all this actually affects the gameplay and the relationship NPCs have toward the player. Now I'm going to introduce Tomáš, who is brain of our AI team, and he will tell you some more technical details.
The Warhorse AI team consists of people who are actually from research and game development research and AI research at the Charles University. Me and my team started to work together with Warhorse 2 years ago, and we wanted to create an AI that is actually alive or very living in a living world. We created our engine from scratch, so it's a completely new AI engine on top of CryEngine. We wanted to use the behavioral trees as our main component. And then we added some communications, so our NPCs actually can talk to each other, can send messages, or can send messages to the environment. As we progressed, we also added features like the player is actually an NPC to us, so the AI system can interact with the player or can use the player as an NPC. We also have objects like NPCs, or the entire world is an NPC to us. This is actually our new system for the NPCs in combat, which scouts the surrounding areas, and this is used to make sense in combat of what can be used against the enemy, where are the obstacles and so on.
Every NPC has its function in the world, and this function is real. They create real goods that player can buy. They do their work, and crafting NPCs even play the same mini games that player does to craft. While we don't have dragons, we have chickens. I even believe I have seen a bear once. So all these animals are actually NPCs too. They have their own day cycle, they sleep at night or hunt at night, they have some kind of behavior, they run away from player or they attack him. Now let me introduce you our scripting team. This is Peter, and this is Michal. These guys are actually working on all the systems I was talking about before, and they are implementing it into the game.
Hi, I would like to demonstrate modularity of our scripting. By modularity, I mean that we are able to script or program every behavior separately and then put this behavior into the mind of our NPCs. Therefore, we are not scripting the entire character, but only parts of its behavior. These modules or behaviors we call can be put to any character and he starts to behave according to this behavior. I would like to show this on this farmer over here that goes here, takes a hoe out of his pocket and goes farming or hoeing on this field over here, and he does it at a particular time, which is over here, and he starts hoeing. Okay, now to change this farmer into a fisherman I need only few keystrokes, so I stop the game and put a different behavior to his tree. This is his tree, what he should do at that hour. Press OK. I run the game again, and now I have to run a little bit over here because the farmer didn't go to hoe again, but he picks up a rod over here, fishing rod, and starts fishing. So that's the same character, only different behavior. With this, the scripting of AI is like putting Lego pieces together. Using this technique, the behaviors are like a Lego puzzle from which we can create any intricate behavior of NPCs we like.
And this is it, the living medieval world in the palm of your hand. We don't want the player to be central point of the universe. There is a lot of people in Deliverance with their lives, needs, joys and troubles. And they are waiting for you.
Thank you for watching. I hope you like what you saw. And next time prepare for something special, because we are going to show you a playable build, the same one we showed to the publishers. It's going to be at least 30 minutes, and it might even be a live stream video, so stay tuned.